Alrighty, folks. Now I'm with Charlotte and Hugh. Loads of you people emailed us to say, Mark, what do we do if we are in the process of foreclosure? Now, most of our normal mortgage clients experience all of these types of words as like, we're going to foreclose, or they get foreclosure papers and etc. They get threatened into believing they're going to go through that process. And of course, the newspapers and the television and all of these talk show hosts, they always put that fear inside of you that you can't do anything. And because of that situation and because of that demand, you two have put something together. Tell us about it.
G'day, folks. Judge Hugh from Terra Australis. The main purpose of this, we call it foreclosure counterbalance package. So it's a counterbalance. Is to gain the upper hand from the banks, courts, and all the agents involved to take back the client's power of attorney. Essentially, it is there to counterbalance and buy more time for the clients to do what they need to do.
You were talking about how the banks will rattle, the client's cage, saying that it will foreclose on your property. Well, this package will kind of do the same to them. It will rattle their cage a little bit so that it will, give you a little bit more power back and you can take control of your situation rather than being, feeling a bit helpless. So this hopefully will provide you with a bit more hope. And
everybody believes that the banks are all powerful and they're as powerful as Almighty God itself. Yeah. And they feel powerless and they feel fear struck. They're going to lose everything and it's all inevitable. What is unique about it? And what does it mean to say that you're going to buy me time?
This package, essentially the 8-step package. It has components in here that is not available anywhere else out there at the moment. And that's one of the uniqueness. There are other unique patents features in this package.
I have the paper bull at my hand through the Vatican City. And I also have a correspondence links where my letters are actually patented. These correspondences that you have put together have that patented uniqueness. So the whole world and the whole world banking system knows what those patents are.
That's the uniqueness, the patented correspondence and letters. So the good thing about that this package that it will capture that advantage and capitalize on that the uniqueness for the success of this package. But of course, in everything, Mark, we have to vet out all people and see if it's suitable for this package. So there will be an interview involved. So it's an 8-step process, and it includes one of the patented letters that you have created, Mark, and other things like, for example, making the claimant factual vessels. So that's part of the getting back the power of attorney, and it will be one of the fail-safe features in that.
So in this package, I take it as I see it, it's got a uniqueness that is recognized by the Bank of International Settlements. It's also recognized by their various, shall we call it, franchises, which is the central banks. And of course, all of their subdivisions, shall we say sub-franchises, like the high street banks, the so-called lending banks. So it's got that. And also, as far as I understand it, that the claimants themselves, that's the people that come to us, they themselves will be on public notice of my website, as well as a variety of other public notice boards. Yeah, so that's another unique feature. So there's 3 kind of fail-safes from what I can hear you've put together. The patented correspondences, the unique features of those letters that have that unique serial number, that it's on public notice on my website, and a few other platforms that we're not sharing at this moment. Coming on to the subject of actually, can we work with them? Can they work with us? So that's what you are going to vet when you have the interviews.
Yes, if it's not suitable, then they will get their refund for the interview.
So that means they have to pay for the interview.
Correct.
And if they wish to go ahead, that will be added
Deducted.
on to the package. And if we say goodbye to them, we just return their fee for the interview, and that's
Correct. We are transparent and fair. If they get accepted and they accept the offer that we have, then the interview fee will be deducted from the total package.
Well, thank you very much. That I'm a bit perplexed here. You're going to buy them time. I mean, what does that mean? You're going to buy them time, like 2-3 days, month, year, 2-3 years, 5 years? What does that mean? And what's so critical about this time?
Depends on the student. You see, it depends on the claimant. If they do it efficiently and fast, and we do have instructional helps for them to do that. Charlotte and I put together a table of how long it takes for each process. It's essentially 8-step process.
I'll ask the question slightly different. 3 months, in 2 months' time, I'm going to be in foreclosure. So when I go through your process, am I going to get like an extra 2-3 days before they kick me out? Or is it like months? Will it last years? How am I going to stay in my home is what I need to know.
Charlotte mentioned, and I have said we would rattle the cages. This process will actually point it back onto them. So there will be notices and demands given to the offending parties, the banks and their solicitors and even the courts, some of the court officials. And this is part of the research that the client needs to do. And we have systems in place will help them. And they have to come up with a proof of claim. And so any failure to do that will have very, very serious consequences. In fact, almost criminal consequences.
Okay, so let's imagine I've gone through this process. As from past experience, the people that have come to us in the early days, when they're going through this process, did they get a few weeks, to fight them back, give them a little bit extra time, or in the best case scenarios, nothing has happened to them so far?
Big thing about this process is that a lot of people have not called out the bank. So there's fraud associated with these mortgages. It's all about the fraud. There's language fraud at work. So what this process does, it brings them to account. So it makes them sit back and they have to answer to the fraud that they have committed. So that alone sort of slows down the process.
I have to play the devil's advocate. What fraud has the bank perpetrated?
Well, I mean, first of all, we know that mortgage means a death pledge.
I'm hearing this for the first time. Let's imagine.
Yep.
Mortgage means death pledge.
Yes, that's right.
I've got a death pledge.
Yep.
Okay.
Well, Yep.
What's next? What other type of frauds?
Well, I mean, if you even look at the contracts that you would have signed when you signed over on a mortgage, there's no authority on the paperwork. Like, there has to be a name associated with it, and there's also got to be appropriate witnessing done to these documents. And most of these mortgage documents do not have any of that. That is just a basic error that they've made. And people assume that that is a legitimate contract.
What if it's a verbal contract? Because they do I've had mortgages. That's how I got to understand these things. I mean, that is a verbal contract. There's a bank manager, there's a solicitor verbally asking you questions. Are you okay with this? Are you okay with that? And that's a verbal contract, and they record that. And then you autograph, which means, they have a verbal contract and you're witnessing the verbal contract. So obviously there is a contract there, yeah, or some sort of an agreement. So what do you say to that?
Was there
I can
full
answer.
disclosure?
Yeah, I was going to say that.
Full
Where's the full disclosure?
Like
Yeah.
what? What type of full disclosure?
Well, they haven't disclosed everything. Like for example, how did they get the accounting on the loans? That's one. According to accounting standards. The other one is that where can you show me the original note? Because either someone would have signed something, and I know signature is void, but that's the basic wet signature. So these are the things that we need to know before we're sending them every month a repayment.
Yep.
I mean, that's just basic.
So perhaps I can explain a little bit my experience.
Mm-hmm.
They have a verbal contract and somebody else witnesses and I'm witnessing it. Okay, that's one. They didn't tell me a mortgage means death pledge. That's a big no-no. And they never gave me a dictionary as to what these words mean, nor a thesaurus, which is the basics of all contracts. The Federal Postal Court have their own dictionary. We're also working on our own dictionary for other people to understand. And plus, every single conjurer, every contract producer will give you some sort of glossary or even something to say what these words mean. But you never got any of those things. And because of that, just two or three, you're witnessing language fraud. You're witnessing perpetration of what is actually what is known as extreme contract violations, and meddling in necromancy, because that is what mortgage is. It's part of a system of necromancers. So that's where my mind goes. Yeah, but in terms of practicality, so what? The plain fact is millions of people get repossessed. I still don't get it. What's so unique about this feature?
It's a way to bring the accountability to light, and with consequences, serious consequences, if they fail to answer.
What consequences would they be?
Well, consequences including under the penalty of perjury in their private capacity.
I was looking through your paperwork. It's also got you are going to take liens out of them on them as well.
Correct.
Yeah? I'm starting to get a better picture of this now. Mm-hmm. Okay, so you've bought me, say, 6 months to get my affairs in order. Yeah, 6 months. What's next, as it were? What am I expecting to happen, say, after 6 months? This is just a scenario.
We call them lien debtors. So they can be added onto the list as they involve other agents, and sometimes they do. And those people will have the same questions, and also under the same penalty of perjury, and liens will be taken out. So this is a non-judicial process. No judge of any court will be able to take it off. The nature of it.
From what you're saying, I think you're being, kind of mealy-mouthed, and I understand why. It's because there's a lot more unique features in there probably you don't want to share because of plagiarizers. And let's imagine a plagiarizer has come in, copied some of your stuff from one of our, say, prospective clients or whatever it is. What happens then? What's stopping people from plagiarizing your unique feature?
I think that will be detrimental to them because, especially in terms of the publication and the public notices that we have uniquely. So I will reveal slightly. One of the key steps is that this thing will be logged and published in a public website, and so that's unique in itself.
Which the plagiarizer doesn't have access to.
That's right. They don't have that.
I get it. And of course, he doesn't have access to the unique features of the letter as well.
On the letter, so he can have some components, but it's almost like you got to have all the pieces together to make this. So
I get it.
Yeah.
In this country, they said they're going to put up the interest rate 0.75%. That, of course, is devastating to, shall we say, about 50, 60,000 households in this country out of, so we say, a housing stock of around about 6 million. Yeah, that's a significant amount of numbers. But in Australia, it's like the numbers are much bigger. And in the United States, they're just like, they're in there quite literally in their millions in just California. Tell us what's happening in Australia, Charlotte.
They've put interest rates up 6 times this year. 6 times. Well, the last one I know was 0.25%. I tend to, get a little bit concerned when they even say interest rate rise, but I do know the last one was 0.25%. And in fact, I think all of them are possibly close to being 0.25% each time. So, that's pretty damning for a lot of people, because that's a massive interest rate. And that the big thing
that's
about
just
what happens
under 2% in the last 6 months.
Yep.
Interest rates have gone up, which means like $1,000 of mortgage payments will now become something like $1,300, $1,400.
Yeah. If the Reserve Bank says 0.25% interest, the bank might go, oh, well, we'll give the client 0.5% interest rate, right? So the 0.25% is a guide only. And so the banks will decide what they want to, because they're not regulated here. So they just decide whatever they want, will they all put it up at. Which is really, it's a strain on families who are already struggling to meet their monthly requirements. So it's getting harder and harder, and the cost of living is increasing. Like fuel prices, we all know fuel prices all over the world are at a ridiculous price, and there's no justification for any of that. So a lot of people are struggling. So yeah, I'd say that their back's up against the wall, and if it isn't already, it will be.
All right, you've got some sort of a package to buy the people time to have their affairs sorted out. Okay, and it's got unique features. And yes, the interest rates are going up. Things are going to get harder and harder and harder. So another element is that Hugh said is that you have the ability to reverse the tables on the banks, because it's they that have perpetrated this criminality on mankind. But this time frame is very interesting for me, because I know in 2025, the entire banking industry under Basel III has to change. And from what I see, it's changing in favor of the people. And I'm thinking to myself, for those fraudulent banks, what they call fictional fiat currency banks, to buy themselves some time, they're hoping to bankrupt millions of people in each country to buy themselves a couple of years extra. I mean, you guys know more about Basel III than I do. Tell me a little bit more about that time frame.
Well, Mark, as we've said, it's the purpose is to buy time so that that will become more advantageous to them over time. because this process it's directed towards their criminality activities, and it's non-judicial, and the only way, and it would last 99 years if the claimant doesn't take it off, so to speak.
Yeah, I'm starting to get a bigger picture now. Yeah, because at the beginning it sounded kind of, wafty to me. Yeah. But I'm starting to realize that you don't want to say too much, and I appreciate that.
No.
But there's such a package has been put together, and it's now available to us to our students at large. And you are now ready to take interviews. So if people email me, they can email me, and that email is in the description box, or they can visit my website. And what a website my website is, I've got to say, because people have got to it and said, wow, Mark, I mean, you even got like God's bank account details in. Wow. This power of attorney, I've got to mention it. Because when you did the mortgage, they actually took out a power of attorney over your physical body, your children's bodies, their education, and also your monies, your deductions, the ability to appoint a solicitor or a lawyer or an attorney at any time that they wish. And not only that, they can call in the so-called loan anytime that they want. Anytime.
Yep.
Without cause or reason, whether you have missed a payment or not, they can call it in anytime. Look, Hugh,
that's serious.
Are we witnessing something similar to 2008 here?
I believe so. The death throes of a very, very desperate animal. It will do wild things because it knows its time is near. And so it will grab whatever is falling off and take it down with them. And foreclosure is one of that. And it's different from 2008. This time it's more serious because this is the last of it. Because Basel III, when it comes in 2025, that's it. Everything's gone factual, backed by tangible assets. So the way the banking works will be different. So at the moment, they've got things like securitization and fractional reserve banking. Well, that will change. It won't. So it will be. I guess it will be a true loan, if you want to have a definition of a loan.
I think I get it.
Sorry, Mark. I wanted to add the way this whole system works is that it's based on debt promises. So you need more of that to pay off the dollar that you paid off. So you need more of the same. So mathematically, it will just collapse over time. It cannot be sustainable, and they know it. See,
I read a document, and that document, I've forgotten the name of the document, did say the purpose of the Federal Reserve is to make the value of the dollar so little that you cannot pay back the so-called debt that you owe them. So if you owed them $500,000, they're going to make the money so worthless that you have to find more to actually pay them back. So they're devaluing the money to such a point that was their sole business, wasn't it? To actually, in the end, devalue the money so much that you cannot pay it back.
Yeah. And interest payment is one of that. So not only fractional reserve banking, but the interest payment on the debt promise, the fiat promise.
Their dollar pays less and less, and they're able to buy less and less globally. And that was the grand design to begin with, to make it so worthless that they're going to grab everybody's properties. So at the moment, 5, 6, 8 million people in the US have lost their homes in the last couple of years. Yeah.
I think it might be even higher by now.
Much higher. Australia, that wave is now, sweeping across Australia. We're about to witness it in the UK or England or Britain or whatever you call it.
Mm.
South Africa is already witnessing it. So this global event is taking place. And it's kind of inevitable, isn't it, that they have to realize, the general public, if you don't take back your power of attorney, you're a sitting duck.
People need to start seeing that this is actually the phenomenon we should be paying attention to. And we should be paying attention to the fact that you do not have power of attorney. If you have a mortgage, you have no power of attorney. And that this package will actually assist you in getting your power of attorney back. And it will also assist you in getting your authority back for yourself and your family. So it is a very, very powerful package, and it's worth having a look at it if you want to. Everybody has a choice to move forward with this. And, if you have a mortgage, take some time and think about it.
There's one other thing that I would like to speak about. Foreclosure. Foreclosed, foreclosure. What does that mean? How can you foreclose something? Explain that to me, Charlotte.
Well, I mean, we went through this this word and what it meant a few weeks ago now. And like the definition of foreclosure is literally to close something before it is necessary to close it, which is something that's a bit of an oxymoron, because they just closing it before it's necessary. Why is that?
Can I paraphrase it?
Please do.
I'm not going to paraphrase it with you because you're a lady, so let me paraphrase it with Hugh. I'm going to kick him in the teeth before he kicks me in the teeth. Is that what foreclosure is? Before he forecloses me, before he closes me, I'm going to foreclose him by kicking him in the teeth before he kicks me in the teeth as a banker.
Wow, you're aggressive, Mark.
But that's what it means, isn't it?
Let me have a chance to get ready.
Where else have we heard that language? Preemptive strike.
War.
Yeah, preemptive strike. We're going to strike you before you figure out what game we're playing. Yeah, we're going to foreclose on you, an entire nation or entire world like Greece, like Argentina, before you figure out we got nothing to back up what we're saying. Yeah.
Very much like what the pirates would think,
This is pirate thinking, isn't it? This is what the high pirates would come up with as part of a fraudulent system.
Sneak attack before they realize it, that kind of thing. Deep, dark in the night, burn down the ships before they realize it or something. Yeah. I mean, for all I know, they could foreclose it on 3 months into it, even if you're on time.
How many people have come to me, saying, Mark, they kicked me out of my house. I never missed a payment.
Wow.
Yeah. In the early days, that's how all this started. It's like when they did that, I was at my brother's house. I moved into my brother's house. They broke into my brother's house and kicked both of us out and seized the property. And the properties were all paid for. I used to have quite literally dozens of people coming into my home telling me these things and show it to me on paper. I have a freehold property, they would say, and I was selling it through a solicitor, and all of a sudden, I didn't receive any money and the property has been sold. Yeah. It's like I went on holiday and I came back and my property had a for sale sign on it. How is that even possible?
How is it possible?
It's because you're working with a system that treats you as a slave, and the entire thing is a fraud, and you're a slave in their system until you reverse their paperwork. We call that zero tolerance. Yeah, zero tolerance of wicked wicked, unscrupulous, fraudulent people. You know, the people out there I know are in denial. Oh, Mark, I think maybe making it up. No. You go up and you check on Facebook and all these other groups how many people have actually lost their businesses, their properties, their cars, etc., with their properties being freehold, no mortgages, etc., and they're being kicked out as tenants in their own homes. You know, explain that to me, Charlotte and Hugh. You guys should be able to explain that to me. How can a man own a house and get kicked out of that house outright? He owns it outright and get kicked out of that house, and he's being kicked out as a tenant, as a non-paying tenant. How does that happen, Hugh?
I can explain that. The moment the borrower signs or agrees on the fraudulent mortgage contract and agrees to the mortgage deed, which is handing over what is already theirs in the first place, but handing it over, there is a clause in there called the general power of attorney. General mean encompassing, and you mentioned it. It's a warlike term, as in general, sergeants and general. The way it's framed is that it will say something to this effect: we will do everything in our power, whether legal or illegal, to secure our to safeguard our security, their security. So they would do everything that we can do, in our place, in our state, to secure their interest and security. They don't say that in the application, because it's okay. Come on, sign here. Go, rush. And most people are preoccupied with how the house looks and how pretty it is, or how we need to do renovation. But those are we call them the fine print in their conventional legalese. But that's what they say. Well, you've agreed to it. You've given us consent to act on your behalf, and that's what we're just simply doing. We're just exercising our power of attorney.
Even though you own the home outright, yeah, and they still have a security over you. Is that what you're saying?
Correct.
Even though you've paid off the mortgage.
That's one part that people are not thinking about. Is not just when you have the mortgage, it's also when you've paid off the supposed mortgage.
Okay, so Hugh, you've paid it off. What's it say on that deed of trust? Does it say that you are right owner, or does it say you're a tenant?
I'm a tenant, joint tenant on the land. I'm still actually, it feels like I'm a tenant.
He paid off his mortgage, but he's still a tenant. Okay. You mentioned security. Even though he's paid off his mortgage and is still a tenant, have they still got a security on his physical body, on his location? And is that power of attorney still in existence?
Well, the security is the man or the woman that have actually signed the mortgage documents. It's not the actual property, and that's why they still have power of attorney, because they use you as their collateral. They use you to get more money. Like, they use your name, and they can do it multiple different ways.
Okay. Look, the people that are coming to us have to understand this. All right, I'm going to roll up my sleeve. Look, I've got a mortgage. To get that mortgage, I put a deposit down and I signed a mortgage agreement, and plus had a verbal agreement. Okay, that's one. Yes to fraud. 25 years later, I've paid off that mortgage. Okay. Once I paid off that mortgage, is the power of attorney and the general power of attorney, the Pacific power of attorney, is that returned to me? Yes or no?
No.
It's not returned.
No, there's no documentation that says it comes back to you.
Okay, so but in the package, you have that.
Yes.
Okay, so I have
Yes.
another question. I've got to try to figure this one out. So that's the withdrawing of the power of attorney. What about the security? I don't understand the security. Are you saying that even though you've paid it off, and yes, the power of attorney is there is still a security on your head and your assets and your children of the power of attorney? So explain a little bit about that, that security, because in the sort of like 10, 15 years ago, people were talking about securitization. Is that what we're talking about? That they still have listed you as being a security on their bank, as well as the part tenancy in your property, which you paid off. Is that where we're going through? Am I understanding this word security, what it means?
I can answer that question.
Okay.
So in terms of their twisted world, they consider us as land in our body, the vessel, because from like through the old scriptures, they say from dust I've created, and to dust you shall be. So the human body is considered as land. Now that's one side, and people know that they have been traded like a stock on the mutual funds, and that's, yeah, a lot of people have awoken to that, and they can check their own accounts how much millions and trillions of dollars they've been trading on there. That's one. The other one is a physical land itself, location. And because they're still listed as a tenant, and tenants cannot own land, correct? They're a tenant. So therefore, part of our process will also secure that, as well as the land vessel body. And that's truly taking back power and competence. And that's why a lot of people are feeling frustrated, like your friend. They say, how come I paid it off? How come? They should honor that. Well, no, because the root of the problem hasn't been rooted out.
Thank you very much, Charlotte. Thank you very much, Hugh. If I was a newcomer to this type of information, I should be in shock now. I should be in shock.